He never believed in aliens. Until the night they came for him. One moment, he was walking down an empty street. The next, a piercing blue light swallowed him whole. When his vision cleared, he stood inside a golden hall that felt older than time itself. From the shadows, they emerged. Two breathtaking blue-skinned queens in sleek battle armor, their icy eyes locked on him like a weapon. Behind them, rows of silent, green-skinned soldiers stood at attention. The air was heavy with power and with danger. "You've been chosen," one queen said, her voice both alluring and terrifying. "Chosen to fight or to die." They offered him a choice: join their war against a rival galactic empire, or watch Earth burn to ashes. But something in their eyes told him the truth. He was just another piece in a much bigger game. Now, trapped between worlds, with humanity's fate in his hands, he must decide. Ally with the alien queens, betray them, or find a way to break free. Because in this war, survival will cost more than his life. The night began like any other. The streets were quiet, the air crisp, carrying the faint scent of rain on the horizon. Daniel Cross walked alone, his boots crunching against the gravel-strewn sidewalk. It was late, far later than he'd intended to be out, but the city was peaceful at this hour. Streetlights flickered lazily, casting thin pools of golden light onto the pavement. He wasn't thinking about aliens. He wasn't thinking about anything out of the ordinary, really. Just life, bills, and the dull ache of another week in a world that felt too small for his restless mind. That was when it happened. A sudden vibration hummed through the air, subtle at first, almost like the rumble of a faraway train. Daniel slowed, glancing around. There were no cars, no footsteps, no sounds except the low, rising hum. His heart began to pound. The hum grew louder, sharper, until it turned into a piercing, electric frequency that seemed to claw into his skull. Daniel dropped to one knee, clutching his ears. Above him, the sky shifted. Clouds spiraled unnaturally, as though pulled toward a single invisible point. A halo of bright blue light tore through the darkness, illuminating the street like midday. Before he could move, the light struck him. It wasn't warm. It wasn't cold. It was something alien. Every nerve in his body froze, his muscles locking in place. Yet his mind remained aware that his feet had left the ground. His stomach churned as gravity lost its grip, pulling him upward toward the widening vortex in the sky. He tried to scream, but his voice was swallowed by the roaring hum. The last thing he saw of Earth was the empty street, shrinking rapidly beneath him, before the blue light consumed everything. When Daniel opened his eyes, he was lying on cold, polished stone. The air felt different, thicker, richer, like breathing in a storm. He sat up slowly, trying to steady his racing heart. The place around him was enormous. Towering golden columns stretched toward a vaulted ceiling carved with swirling patterns that pulsed faintly with light. It wasn't like any architecture he had ever seen, ancient, yet impossibly advanced. And then he noticed he wasn't alone. A sound echoed from behind him, the measured, synchronized steps of boots on stone. He turned. From the far end of the hall, two figures emerged from the shadows. At first, Daniel thought they were human, but the moment they stepped into the golden light, his breath caught. Their skin shimmered in deep shades of blue, as smooth as porcelain, catching the light in a way that made them seem unreal. Their eyes glowed faintly, not a reflection, but a light from within. Both women were tall, poised, and dressed in form-fitting armor of silver and orange, sleek yet regal, like warriors and queens all at once. Their long white hair cascaded over their shoulders, catching the gold from the room's light. Every movement they made was precise, deliberate, as if choreographed. Behind them, an entire formation of soldiers marched into view, all with green skin, identical black combat suits, and unreadable expressions. They stopped in unison, their eyes fixed on him. Daniel's throat tightened. The taller of the two blue queens stepped forward, her gaze never leaving his. When she spoke, her voice was like silk wrapped around steel, beautiful, but carrying the weight of command. "Daniel Cross," she said, pronouncing his name perfectly despite the alien accent. "You have been brought to the Hall of the First Light. You will not run. You will not resist." He opened his mouth, struggling to form words, but nothing came out. His mind was still racing. How did she know his name? Where was he? What was this place? The second queen tilted her head slightly, as if studying him. "He doesn't understand yet," she said softly, her tone almost amused. The first queen smiled faintly, a smile that carried no warmth. "He will." The green-skinned soldiers stepped forward, forming a wall behind him. Daniel glanced back, instinctively searching for an escape route, but the towering golden doors at the end of the hall had sealed shut. He was trapped, and whatever had brought him here wasn't done with him yet. The taller queen moved closer, her boots clicking sharply against the stone floor. The sound echoed through the massive chamber, each step deliberate, the measured approach of a predator that already knew its prey couldn't escape. Daniel's breath quickened. His eyes darted between her and the army behind, but every soldier stood perfectly still, their posture rigid, weapons at the ready. No one moved except her. She stopped just a few feet away, tilting her head slightly as if examining something rare and unexpected. Her icy blue eyes seemed to pierce straight through him. "You are exactly as our archives predicted," she said, her voice low and steady. "An earthborn male, physically unaltered, mind still untouched." Daniel swallowed hard. Who are you?" His voice cracked slightly, betraying the fear crawling through him. A faint smile played on her lips, a smile that felt less like kindness and more like a calculated display of control. "I am Velara, first queen of the Zyran Dominion. This," she gestured to the woman standing beside her, "is my sister, Celerin, keeper of the flame." Celerin stepped forward, her expression softer but her eyes no less intense. She studied Daniel the way a scientist might examine an experiment. "You have questions," she said. "They will be answered, but not before you understand the gravity of your arrival." Daniel forced himself to meet her gaze. "I didn't arrive. I was taken." Velara's faint smile vanished. "You were chosen." The word hung in the air like a decree. Daniel shook his head. "Chosen for what?" Velara didn't answer immediately. Instead, she circled him slowly, her armored fingertips brushing against the hilt of the weapon strapped to her thigh. The silence stretched, the sound of her footsteps echoing in rhythm with Daniel's heartbeat. Finally, she stopped directly behind him. "There is a war," she said, her voice carrying an edge now. "A war older than your species. The Zyran Dominion fights to preserve the order of the galaxy. Our enemies would see it burn." Celerin's tone was softer, almost persuasive. "We have fought for centuries, but the tides are shifting. Our enemies have found someone that tilts the balance in their favor. And so have we." Daniel frowned. "And that's me." "You underestimate yourself," Velara replied. She stepped in front of him again, her gaze unwavering. "You are not here because you are strong. You are here because you are immune." Daniel's pulse quickened. Immune to what? Celerin glanced at her sister before answering. "The mind wave, a weapon that shatters will and bends entire civilizations to obedience. No being from your galaxy has resisted it until you." Daniel's thoughts spun. He wanted to laugh, to tell them they were insane, but something deep inside whispered that this was real, that somehow, impossibly, they were telling the truth. Velara took a step closer, close enough for him to see the faint glow of energy running through the seams of her armor. "You will lead our vanguard against the Arcane Rebellion," she said. "Your mind cannot be broken. You will stand at the front lines, shielded from the weapon that has doomed billions." Daniel's instincts screamed at him to refuse. "I'm not a soldier." Celerin's lips curved faintly. "You will be." He took a step back, but the soldiers behind him tightened their formation, the sound of metal shifting against armor echoing through the hall. Daniel's eyes locked on Velara's. "And if I say no?" The Queen's smile returned, sharper this time. "Then Earth will be the first to fall. Your people will kneel or burn." Her words hit him like a physical blow. Images flashed through his mind, cities in flames, skies torn apart by ships larger than anything humanity had ever imagined, and the faces of the people he loved disappearing in the chaos. Velara extended her hand, palm up, as if offering a pact. "Fight with us, Daniel Cross. Ensure your world's survival. Refuse and watch it die." The silence between them felt like the weight of a collapsing star. Daniel looked at her hand, then at the cold, watchful eyes of the soldiers. He could feel Celerin's gaze on him, patient, almost pitying, as though she knew the decision he would make before he even made it. He didn't take her hand, not yet, but deep down he knew the truth. He wasn't going home. The Golden Hall's vast doors parted without a sound, revealing a corridor so immense it made Daniel feel as though he'd stepped into the arteries of some sleeping giant. Velara didn't need to command him to follow. The soldiers behind him made sure there was nowhere else to go. The air inside was cooler, filled with a faint metallic tang. High above, light streamed through crystalline panels, casting shifting patterns across the floor as if the very walls were alive. Daniel's footsteps echoed beside the unbroken rhythm of the Queen's stride. They passed through the corridor and into a chamber that seemed to stretch forever. Daniel froze. It was an army, an endless army. Rows upon rows of soldiers stood in perfect formation, their armor glinting under the artificial sun above. Each rank stretched so far he couldn't see where it ended. The green-skinned warriors he had seen before were only one type. There were others now, towering insectoid figures with obsidian plates for skin, wolf-like creatures standing upright, their eyes glowing red beneath spiked helmets, slender, silver-bodied machines with faces as smooth and expressionless as glass. Every one of them stood utterly still, waiting. Celerin's voice carried softly to him without her turning. 100,000 trained warriors in this hall alone, and this is but a fraction of our strength. Daniel's throat went dry. "A fraction." Velara glanced at him over her shoulder. "The Dominion's reach spans 400 star systems. When we march to war, the sky itself darkens under our fleets." She led him to a raised platform at the center of the chamber. A gesture from her, and the floor came alive with shimmering light. Holographic projections bloomed upward. Massive star charts, sprawling networks of constellations, each marked with glowing symbols. Entire fleets were represented as small, moving clusters of ships, shifting across the maps like pieces on a cosmic chessboard. Daniel's eyes caught on one region pulsing red. The Queen's noticed. "Our enemy," Celerin explained. "The Arcane Rebellion. Once a minor uprising, now an infection spreading through the galaxy. They have found a weapon that changes the nature of war itself." "The Mind Wave," Daniel muttered, recalling what they'd said before. Velara nodded. "Yes. With it, they do not conquer planets, they convert them. Entire populations, broken in hours. Soldiers turn on their own leaders. Governments collapse without a shot fired." Celerin stepped forward, pointing at a cluster of blue-marked systems. "These worlds still hold, but if the Arcane reach them, the tide will turn against us." She looked at him, her gaze piercing but not unkind. And without you, Daniel Cross, they will fall. He shook his head, still staring at the sheer scale of it all. You're talking about millions, billions of lives. You're asking me to lead? Villara interrupted sharply. Daniel turned to her, his voice rising. I'm not a leader. I'm not a soldier. I don't know the first thing about commanding an army. You will learn, she said simply, or you will watch your species be erased. Before he could answer, the ground trembled. A deep vibration rolled through the hall, accompanied by a distant roar, not mechanical, but living. One of the insectoid giants stepped forward from the formation, its 6 legs clattering against the metal floor. Its head dipped low toward Daniel, mandibles clicking. He flinched instinctively, but the creature froze when Villara raised her hand. These are the Zyrath, she said. They fear nothing, not even death. They will fight under your banner. The idea felt absurd, him, leading these nightmares into battle, but the truth settled over him like cold iron. They weren't showing him this for his benefit. They were showing him what he belonged to now. Celerin stepped closer to him, her voice dropping to a near whisper. The Dominion does not give gifts, Daniel. It makes investments. You are one of them. The meaning was clear. His survival was now tied to their war. Villara turned away, already striding toward another set of doors at the far end of the chamber. Come, she commanded. There is more you must see. Daniel hesitated, glancing once more at the endless ranks of warriors, the gleaming armor, the silent, waiting eyes. It didn't feel like he was walking into a role. It felt like he was walking into a sentence. The second set of doors slid open, revealing a chamber unlike anything Daniel had seen so far. It wasn't a throne room. It wasn't a war hall. It was a viewing deck. A single curved wall of transparent crystal stretched high above him, giving an unobstructed view into the void of space. Stars glittered like scattered diamonds on black silk, but it was what hung directly ahead that stole his breath. A massive, swirling gas giant, its storms the size of continents. A fleet of Zyran warships orbited it in precise formation, their sleek black hulls reflecting the planet's shifting colors. Villara stepped forward until she was silhouetted against the stars. Do you see it, Daniel? This is the scale of the game you've been dragged into. Your world is a pebble compared to the stones we move. Daniel's fists tightened. Then why me? Why not some battle-hardened general from your own people? Celerin moved to his side, her tone calm, patient. Because your mind cannot be broken. That makes you rarer than the finest warrior. He didn't answer. His gaze drifted back to the swirling storms, but he could feel the weight of the army he'd just seen pressing against the back of his mind. Villara turned, her cloak sweeping across the polished floor. We will not waste time. This is the choice before you, Daniel Cross. Join us in our campaign against the Arcane Rebellion, or watch Earth burn from the safety of our observation decks. His head snapped toward her. Safety? You're threatening my planet and calling it safety. Celerin's expression softened, but her words carried no less gravity. It is mercy, Daniel. We have destroyed worlds before. Your people are fortunate they matter to you. Otherwise, we would not be speaking at all. Daniel stepped forward, heat rising in his voice. You can't expect me to fight in your war just because you've, what? Kidnapped me and scared me with your army. Villara's eyes narrowed. This is not fear. This is reality. Your planet is defenseless against the mind wave. Once the Arcane have it, they will not need fleets or armies. Your leaders will open their gates willingly. Your soldiers will lay down their weapons. Your people will beg to be enslaved. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. And you will live to see it happen. Daniel's mouth went dry. Celerin raised her hand, and the room's lights dimmed. The massive crystal wall came alive with holographic projections. Earth spinning in the void. Within seconds, a crimson pulse washed over it, spreading across continents like blood in water. The image shifted to chaos. Cities burning, civilians stumbling through streets with vacant, lifeless eyes. Soldiers turned their weapons on their own allies. Monuments toppled. The oceans boiled with wreckage. "This is what the mind wave leaves behind," Celerin said softly. "A living planet with no will of its own." Daniel tore his eyes from the projection. "You're showing me a nightmare to push me into saying yes." "No," Velara replied, her voice cold. "We are showing you the truth to ensure you do not say no." The silence after her words was suffocating. Finally, Velara extended her hand toward him once more, palm up. "You will have our ships, our armies, and our knowledge. You will stand at the front lines, shielded from the Arcane's weapon. You will lead our strike that decides the fate of the war. All we require is your agreement." Daniel looked at her hand. He didn't move. "And if I refuse?" he asked quietly. Celerin answered this time, her voice barely above a whisper. "Then your people will suffer a fate worse than death. They will serve, without even knowing they have been conquered. You will be returned to watch it happen, powerless to stop it." The images on the crystal wall lingered. His planet, quiet and broken, its skies filled with foreign ships. His jaw tightened. He could feel the trap closing in from every angle. Say yes, and he'd be a weapon in their war. Say no, and Earth was lost. Velara's hand remained steady, as if she had all the time in the world. Daniel's heart pounded, his mind screaming for a third option. But deep down, he knew there wasn't one. He reached out, but stopped an inch from her palm. "I'll fight," he said, his voice steady, "but I choose how." For the first time, Velara's faint smile returned. "Then we have an understanding." The war began before Daniel even realized he had agreed to fight it. One moment, he stood on the Zyran flagship's command deck, the hum of alien machinery filling the air. The next, alarms blared, red lights cutting through the shadows. Velara's voice rang out over the chaos. "Arcane fleet detected. All units to combat positions." Through the vast viewing glass, Daniel saw them, ships blacker than the void itself, gliding forward like predators. Their hulls pulsed with a sickly crimson glow. Even from here, he could feel the mind wave, a faint pressure at the edges of his thoughts, like invisible claws searching for a way in. Around him, Zyran officers stiffened as the wave passed over them. Some flinched, others blinked rapidly, disoriented. But Daniel felt nothing. The pressure hit, scraped uselessly against him, and broke apart. Velara caught his gaze. "You see now why you are here." The deck shuddered as the first volley of fire ripped through the void. Blue-white beams from the Zyran ships met crimson lances from the Arcane fleet. In the distance, explosions bloomed silently in the darkness. Celerin stepped up beside him. "Your strike team is ready. We punch through their front line, you get aboard their flagship, and you kill the mind wave generator." Daniel stared at her. "That's your plan? Send me into the middle of their fleet." "You are the only one who can get close without becoming their puppet," she said, her tone calm but unyielding. The soldiers he had seen before, green-skinned warriors, insectoid titans, silver-bodied machines, assembled in the launch bay. As Daniel entered, every alien, I turned to him. He wasn't one of them, but they moved aside, making space for him at the center. The launch sequence began. The bay doors opened, revealing the endless black, the distant flashes of war. Daniel's heart pounded. This wasn't just an alien fight anymore, it was his fight. The dropship lurched forward, engines roaring. The battlefield swallowed them whole. Arcane fighters streaked past, their crimson trails burning against the darkness. The Zyran craft weaved between debris and enemy fire, spiraling toward the massive silhouette of the Arkeen flagship. It was like nothing Daniel had seen before, a jagged, sprawling monstrosity, its hull alive with shifting red patterns that pulsed in time with the mind wave. As they closed in, the pressure in his head intensified. He could see it now, his team twitching, slowing, their movements becoming sluggish. One by one, they faltered, the wave clawing into their minds. Daniel was the only one left moving at full strength. He grabbed the controls from the stunned pilot and forced the ship toward the flagship's breach point. They hit hard, metal screaming against metal, but the airlock held. Daniel wrenched it open, the hiss of alien atmosphere rushing in. The halls inside were dim, pulsing with the same red glow. Shadows moved ahead, Arkeen soldiers, their eyes empty, their movements eerily in sync. They came at him in waves, their weapons firing crimson bolts. Daniel moved on instinct, diving behind alien structures, returning fire with the Zyron rifle strapped to his back. Every shot found its mark. He wasn't a soldier, not before tonight, but desperation sharpened his aim. Finally, he reached the core. The mind wave generator stood like a living heart, its surface shifting, breathing. Tendrils of red energy stretched out from it, pulsing toward the walls, feeding into the ship's systems. He stepped forward and froze. A figure emerged from behind the generator. It was human, a woman, her face pale, her eyes glowing red. She wore the insignia of a United Earth diplomat, one Daniel had seen on news broadcasts. "You shouldn't be here," she said, her voice layered with the eerie echo of the mind wave. "The Queens didn't tell you everything." Daniel's stomach dropped. "What are you talking about?" She smiled faintly. "Destroy this and the Arkeen fall. But so does the Dominion. The Queens need you to win their war, not yours." The pieces slammed together in his mind. The armies, the fleets, the ultimatum. The Dominion wasn't saving Earth. They were replacing one empire with another. The diplomat stepped aside. "The choice is yours. Save the galaxy from the mind wave, or leave it standing and become their weapon forever." Daniel stared at the generator. His finger hovered over the detonator. Behind him, he could hear the approach of Dominion reinforcements, the Queen's soldiers, coming to ensure he did what they wanted. He had seconds, one choice, two worlds. Daniel smiled faintly to himself. "No one owns me." The detonator clicked. The world went white.